Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very safe and well out there. Thank you ever so much for joining us. If you're listening to the show for the very first time, you can find us on iTunes, on Spotify, or on Audio Boom. We're across a range of different audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And for better or for worse, you make your mind up. We are also live on YouTube. Delighted to be welcoming back my co-host, the man who drives our crazy train. I've got Lee McQueen on the show. Lee, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Rick. Good evening, everybody, listeners and obviously viewers. I am husky, and I have to be honest with you. It's not from moaning either. It's from actually singing songs and getting behind the team today in the South Stand. So yeah, fresh back from the game, and I am smiling because it's 3 points. So happy days.
Happy days indeed. And like I say, it's great to bring two debutants on the back of Spurs winning. And I know I haven't said that much this season, although we did start the season, of course, with 3 straight wins in the Premier League. First up, delighted to be making his debut. We've got presenter Jeff Brazier on the show. Jeff, how are you, my friend? You well? I'm going to unmute Jeff now to bring him in. The classic. Jeff, how are you? Are you well?
You'd think we'd be used to Zoom and stuff like that, but no, 18 months wasn't enough to get me to learn how to use a mute button. Fortunately, yeah, we didn't have to mute ourselves today, did we? In the fact that we got a performance and we got a result. So yeah, I'm very pleased, just like Lee and the rest of us. And yeah, no, it's interesting because I was working at the Moura game in the week and got an interesting insight. So I'll share that soon, I'm sure.
We're looking forward to that, Jeff. We are looking forward to that indeed. And also pleased to be making his debut tonight. We've got British actor and writer TJ Romero joining us. TJ, how are you, my friend? You well?
I think I unmuted myself successfully. Very well. Delighted to be here, Ricky. Nice to be here with such an all-star team as well, Jeff and Lee. Yeah, man, just so excited. And obviously off the back of 3 points, thank goodness, because I think 4 in a row just would have been, we would have been here slitting our wrists. But yes, mate, happy and excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I think you're right there, TJ. I think it would have been tough, in any circumstances with Tottenham, it's tough. But I think definitely 100% when you take into account the recent run of results and performances, my God, we needed that win today. Lee, let's start with you. You've just come back fresh from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A big win for Nuno Espirito Santo as Spurs claim that 2-1 victory over Aston Villa. A deserved 3 points with a good performance as well, following a dreadful run in the league in September, and also 17 shots on goal. The XG is on the rise. What did you make of it, Lee?
Love a bit of XG, Rick. Love a bit of XG. Look, I mean, I thought it was a much better performance. I think our possession stats say that. Our shots attempts at goal, as you just said, 17, 8 on target. I think that's... For me, I always look at XG, and I don't really understand all that kind of new stuff, to be fair. But I always look at it and say, look, if you're having 7, 8, 9 shots on target, you're going to be looking at scoring in and around 2, 3 goals every game that you do. And if you look at what we've done so far under Nuno, I think we've been having 2 or 3 shots on target through the game. Do you know what I mean? It's just not been good enough. I think last week we made Arsenal look like world beaters, and it was absolutely disgusting. It was an embarrassing performance. But today was completely different to that. We had a good amount of passes, a good amount of possession, and a good amount of opportunities. I think we were. It's like how we should be playing. Look, we're not going to go and win the league clearly, but we needed the 3 points. We've got a big international break ahead of us, so it was a hugely important 3 points. And I like some of the individuals. I'm sure we'll get into it, Rick, but some of the individual performances today I was really impressed with. Some not so much, I have to say, but like the reality of the situation is I'm husky. We've been singing. We got 3 points, and I'm not going to say we got the job done, because actually Villa were a very good side, and we made them look very ordinary today, I have to be honest. So I think it's a very good performance from us today.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And I think, going into this game, come over to you, Jeff, there was actually massive, I would say, trepidation in terms of what kind of Tottenham would turn up. We started the season ever so well. I think it's fair to say that over the last 3 or 4 games, Nuno's been under a huge amount of pressure. I mean, Son making both goals, of course, nearly scored himself a few times. But overall, if you're going to play that sort of counter-attacking football, it is as good as it gets when it comes to making it work, Jeff. What did you make of the performance at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier today against Aston Villa? We are going to bring Jeff back off mute.
God, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm really sorry. So I think the game midweek massively helped. I know it's a game that we're expected to win easily, but given our situation and the need for a lift in terms of spirit and morale, not just for the squad, but for the fans as well. I'd say that to score 5 goals past anyone, it's just a habit. It's just, that feeling of knowing that they can do it, and that obviously it's just remembering. Oh yeah, I know what we do. I know how we do this. We attack with pace and power, and we are we've always been a threatening team in those conditions. So. I'd also I'd add though, in terms of Kane's influence, and again, I wasn't at the game today, so I don't know how pivotal he was in certain elements. Did he play quite deep? But you have to ask yourself, if he had gone and Sonny was kind of leading the line and sort of playing in that role, like how much worse off would we be? Because actually, from a goal point of view, we know he's got 6 goals, but none of them obviously in the Premier League. So our goal tally in the Premier League wouldn't be any worse off. It just fascinates me, and I'd like to ask the guys on the panel here as well, just because I think that's half the reason why we had Nuno actually appointed in the end, just because I think at that point it looked more likely that we wouldn't have him, Harry Kane that is. And so to have a more defensive-minded manager maybe made sense given the kind of season that we're probably expecting to have. Actually, we kept him, and Nuno's appointment at that point becomes slightly less relevant than I think it was meant to be. I think there was a reason for getting him, but I don't think it was the reason that we ended up needing him. But yeah, there's lots of what ifs, obviously. But the fact is that today we've ended up, as it's fine margins in football, isn't it? I mean, for us to be 8th, 12 points after 7 games, I'd say that's on target. I'd say that meets expectations. It wasn't comfortable for us to lose those 3 games back to back, especially with the last one. But the truth is, I don't think we would have expected necessarily to win those opening 3 games and get off to a flyer as much as we did. We didn't play great. We remember we was resolute when it comes to hanging on to those leads. It was a type of gritty performance and determination that we've not seen of late. So I'm sure we were all kind of enjoying that cohesion around the squad of like, that belief that we're not going to concede, we're going to see this game out. And then obviously that just kind of, I don't know how many goals that we conceded. I think it was 9 or so, wasn't it? But that completely vanished. Well, yeah, it was 3 in each game. Yeah. Anyway, so it's been an interesting start to the season. It gives us plenty to talk about, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny, Jeff, to pick up on what you were saying there. You said we're on target. And I think the thing is, as a Spurs fan, we have to kind of mentally tell ourselves that this is a transitional season. It's a new manager. There's a lot of new players in there. And it's a case of trying to give this time to work. And the thing is, and I'm good with it myself, I sit there every weekend and say, we're only a couple of points off the top 4. We're only a couple of points off this. And you end up deluding yourself thinking that, this squad is at the same level it was under Pochettino. But the reality is that it isn't. There's still a lot of work that I think needs to be done. And what I will say about Nuno is in every press conference and every interview after the game, and I'm going to bring it up to you, Jeff, don't worry, I'm going to be coming to you about Nuno in general, but I do feel that's one of the consistent things that he is saying, that it is a case of working, because I don't think as much as obviously many people, and listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, they've made their mind up on Nuno, but when you actually look at the amount of time that he spent with the squad as a whole, he hasn't had a huge amount of time with them. And, I think coming over to you, TJ, to me, that feels like a very big win for Nuno and Spurs collectively, because when you look at it, the second half, I think I'll probably go along the lines of saying that was probably, for me, the best I've seen Spurs play this season, certainly in terms of chances created. I mean, listen, I don't know if the Nuno blueprint, if that is it, if that's how we're going to move forward. But for me, I think Son was arguably man of the match. Also, Emerson, I thought, looked ever so strong. So what did you make overall of the way Spurs approached the game? And, for Nuno in these early days, how important is that going into now another international break?
Was that me, Ricky?
It was you, TJ. It was you.
Brilliant. Okay. Just want to make sure that my first comment is on cue. Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with everything that's been said thus far. It was terribly important for us to get that win today. To lose 4 in a row would really be almost, I think, a step too far for us. And then you start talking about Nuno getting sacked and what have you. The thing is that obviously football is something that people all around the world are extremely passionate about. And part of that passion means we're going to have opinions. And Nuno's been catching an awful lot of flack. I understand a lot of it. I think that one of the things that occurs is that, of course, first 3 games of the season, we win them. We don't win them in the Tottenham style, which I understand, but we win them. We grind out these 1-0s, and then also we looked resolute at the back, which is something that we haven't been able to say for a very, very long time. I think another thing that's very important as well, as we've discussed, is that this is a transitional period, and we've actually been in that period for quite some time. that painful rebuild. It's such a famous quote now, isn't it? And it's such a sort of wonderful bit of insight from Pochettino. And I actually think, I was thinking about this the other day as I was listening to the podcast that you did after the game that we won't talk about last week. Just actually the enormity of that statement, the painful rebuild. It's not just about players that we adore who've served us well leaving and bringing in untested players. It's the whole thing, that the structure, the cohesion of not just the team, like who's on the grass, who's on the pitch every week, but the whole club seemed to have been shaken to its core. And I don't know just how much of that Pochettino was aware of at the time that he said that. I suspect he probably was aware of it. He was so close with Daniel Levy and was such an important, integral part of this beautiful sort of Renaissance period that we all look back on with such glee and such happiness. And so for Nuno, I was really pleased for him today, because he's a negative manager, right? He's a defensive manager. And I understand that. I can look at his record. We can all Google stuff, right? How many goals he scored in this many games and XG and all this sort of stuff. However, I do think that we have to give not only players an opportunity to grow and develop, but also managers the opportunity to grow and develop. If you're playing at Wolves, and again, no disrespect to Wolves, it's not the same set of players as when you come to Tottenham, and it's not the same philosophy, and it's not the same history. Of course, they have a history. They're a big team going back some time, but it is a different DNA or a different ethos. You know, to dare is to do is Tottenham, and so to write him off as being incapable of having an attack-minded team or a team that can play with flair, especially with the players that he has at his disposal, I believe is remiss, to be diplomatic, and just, you know, perhaps a little foolish in all sincerity. We have to give him an opportunity. We saw our first manager get fired this morning, right? The Watford dude. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Right, he's gone. He's gone.
It's
So
not often though, TJ, is it? When I look at Watford's record of managerials,
yeah. You know, do we want to be like that? You know, do we want to be like that? Like, we have to be able to roll with the punches. And again, like after 3 games, people, you know, manager of the month, or maybe it is top 4. Arsenal were talking about maybe we could do top 4 because they beat us last week. And we are 2 points off third. That's the Premier League, man. That's the beauty of it. You win 1, you win 2, and all of a sudden, hold on a minute, and then you lose 1. It's just, you know, I can't remember the name of that chap who's very funny on Arsenal television. You get me blood, fam, that guy. You know, you're a fraud, fam. You're a fraud. Like after the first 3 games they lose, and they lose to Brentford, and then they go to Man City and they sing, you know, you're nothing special. We lose every week. And now they win a game and we're going to Europe. So that's the Premier League. And so we do have to exercise, if we can, a little restraint and a little patience. I was very pleased with what I saw today.
Yeah. I love it. Patience and Spurs fans, 2 things that have been combined.
Good luck.
We've got very little over. Lee, let's get to you.
Good luck with that.
You was at the game, Lee. I mean, to be fair, look, it was a solid performance. You know, if we're going to name some players, we're going to come on to them in a bit more detail. But Skipp, Højbjerg, they were solid. Son was brilliant. Romero looked good. And Dyer looked so much more comfortable. I thought actually playing alongside Romero, I thought they actually complemented each other. Although obviously the goal conceded, you know, there's no doubt about that. It could have been better dealt with. But Kane, he could have had a couple. He's actually looking for chances, and we could have put this one to bed by more. And in a weekly, well, let's be honest about it, on this show, it's upwards and downwards. We cover every single game. It feels like every single minute with Tottenham. Do you think there has been a change in Nuno? Of course, there has been that formation change in general now as we go to that 4-2-3-1. Did you feel there was a more comfortable side to watching Spurs play today?
I think it was more balanced. I think that, you know, Skipp and Højbjerg sitting in there. And they're not just, I mean, as Højbjerg proved today, right? He popped up and scored, right? So it's not, he doesn't just sit there completely and just guard the back 4 all the time. But I think that, you know, the key thing is that there's a little bit more balance. You've already checked him already, but I thought Emerson was royal today. Let's see what I did there. I think he was very, very good, and I think Romero was fantastic as well, clearing things out, doing things well, bringing a little bit of a calm to the back. I mean, Danny Ings always has a good game against Tottenham. I don't know why we didn't sign him, to be honest, but you know, that's another show. But you know, he always has a good game against us today. Didn't get a sniff today, really. Didn't really get a sniff at all. I think they had 3 attempts on target, I think, looking at the blue book here, all game. So I think we kept him quiet. A couple of niggly things maybe you pick up when you're watching the game, because you don't get replays and stuff like that, is the way we're setting up at set pieces. What's really interesting, I was saying to the guys that I was sitting with today, is that we don't seem to pick up any second balls from set pieces. So they were having some corners, and actually, if you look at everyone's inside the box, there's no one kind of hanging outside, just even in the D area, to come and pick out these second balls. So what would happen is, even if we cleared it out, it would get out to the kind of 20 yards, 25 yards out, and it would come back at us again. Do you see what I mean? There was no one really there to kind of go. Even under Jose teams, it's set up to go on a quick, brisk counter attack. You'd have someone sitting there so that actually you can relieve that pressure and go and counter attack. Does that make sense? So, and that wasn't happening. So there's a couple of things there tactically. I thought there's still a conundrum that he needs to solve, which is that midfield, which I'm sure we'll get onto, Rick, because you got Dele not in the side today, which is a lot of people's happy with. Gio played well if he could in midweek, and obviously scored a goal and an assist, but it was against Moura. And Dembele plays again today, and he was sometimes non-existent on a pitch. And you've still got there's 3 players there. No one quite trusts. No one in that position is somebody that's going, I'm going to have this game today. Are you with me, listeners? Are you with me, viewers? No one's going to. They need to get hold of the game and say, I'm having this today. Who wants it? And Dele don't really want to do that, and Gio don't really want to do that, and Tunga don't really want to do that. And that for me is a problem, is because there's some decision making in the final third that actually, if it was better decisions individually with players, like you said, Rick, we could have gone and scored 4-5. No problem. The problem is, and maybe TJ, you're right. Maybe it is about getting things together and giving him some time and getting things to click, because we've scored 6 Premier League goals in 7 games, and that's just simply not good enough. That's the reason why we've lost 3 on the bounce before today. If that clicks, and obviously, viewers, it is a big if, but if that clicks, we know we've got the firepower. We know that we can go and score. I mean, incidentally, Lucas's goal went down as an own goal, didn't it? Because to be fair, he didn't touch it. To be fair to him, but
I think he's second behind some of our goal scorers at the moment. That's a worry.
He was there though.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's the thing, is that you want them players stepping up and doing not necessarily more, because I think they worked hard today, but actually when it matters, I'll pick up on a second half point. Kane was through on goal, probably scores that if he's on form, although he's coming back off hat-trick. When the ball comes back out to him, he's tried to chip the goalkeeper. All he has to do is have a piece of mind to put it to his right. It's 3-1, 100%, and he didn't do it. He went for a chip. They're the moments, like Jeff, you mentioned, right? It's fine margins, and they're the moments that sometimes are costing us in football matches.
Yeah. Jeff, I want to come on to you just to discuss the manager a bit more detail. I mean, you've been up with him up close and personal. I mean, it felt like today he needed a result, and it was a much more improved performance. He actually got it right, in terms of making the correct decisions on the day. And you look at that, say that switch to formation of 4-2-3-1, and I think it made a real positive difference to the team and to a lot of those key individuals. And I think the quick response to Villa's equaliser was so encouraging, because we've seen it so many often with Spurs, that they can see the goal, the heads drop, and mentally they go to pieces. But I think what was really good today was to see that immediate comeback. I mean, what did you make of that for you? And also, I want to ask you as well, because we want to address elephant in the room. Obviously, you've had the chance of interviewing Nuno personally so far. How have you found him just as a character? Does he fit, this term Spurs manager, which many people just say he's not a Spurs manager? Where do you sit on that fence? Bearing in mind you've had the chance to meet him personally, as I say.
Yeah, well, look, firstly, to answer your first question, because you asked me about 15 there, I'd say you're not really, within the game, you don't really judge a team so much until the 10th game. I think that's the general sort of rule of thumb. Obviously, we're here 7 games in, and we feel like if he lost today, then we'd be really judging, right? We'd be losing our you-know-what. But how do I find him? Well, I read what The Athletic wrote about in terms of people finding him quite aloof and distant, and he doesn't necessarily have those personable skills. And again, all right, the counter argument to that is, does he need to be everyone's best mate? Does he need to be top man, the sort of guy you'd like to go out and have a pint with? Not necessarily, as long as he gets results and does a job. My own personal experience, it was really odd, because again, Tottenham's my team, so I'm in there and I'm like, right, I've got to firstly remember not to say we, and just say you or the club, which is quite a strange thing to have in your head. And then, like, if I'm to be really honest, my first question wasn't really. I would have phrased it better, but I was quite direct in that. What I was insinuating, you knew what I was insinuating in terms of, you know, the team need goals. You need goals. Why have you left Kane and Son on the bench? It's a fair enough question, but as I say, for a first one, from a technical point of view, when it comes to reporting, you know, on live game presentations, yeah, especially if you haven't met the manager, you sort of break them in, you ease them in, and then you can hit them with the more important questions. Because let's face it, it was always going to be a little bit sort of defensive, just because he knows what's coming. He knows that you've got to ask him about current form, got to ask about selection. That's what I'm there to do. And yeah, he just straight away was really abrasive and didn't necessarily want to answer any of my questions sort of beyond that, because he just felt like he didn't want to be backed into a corner, I think is how I would view it. But, you know, I kept rattling off my questions and just trying to get him to loosen up and talk a little. And after the game, again, you know, obviously with the relief of winning 5-1, and also I think for him, which was really key, was making those substitutions when he did, because he was reactive. And I think that's how we judge. You know, fans will always say when a manager should or shouldn't have made substitutions and what difference that made. But you know, that was very decisive, and as a result, you know, we would have probably been happy with Kane coming on and getting one, and subsequently ended up being a hat trick. But yeah, look, it's just I'm sure he's a really good guy, and I'm sure that, you know, in terms of using that rule of like, let's just judge when it comes to the 10th game, I know that he's going to learn within games more than he maybe will on a training pitch, and he has to try his different formations. He has to probably try things that he hasn't tried before at Wolves or anywhere else. And yeah, it's more realistic for us to sort of chat about, you know, what kind of manager he's going to be. I think Poch didn't necessarily start particularly well when he was with us, you know, and I think that's a really important point. So it's just for us to maybe remain slightly open-minded, for me to maybe ask an easier question next time I meet him.
Yeah, Jeff, can I just sorry, Rick. Rick, sorry, mate. Can I just ask Jeff? Did you, when you're in and around the club, as you are? I mean, as fans going in and around the club, you get to see kind of peripherals, obviously in the stadium, whatever. But when you're in and around the club, and you're kind of, you know, you're with the media guys and girls, and you're with, you know, you're in a mixer of the club. Can you feel a different sense? Can you feel a sense of what we feel on the terraces, if you like? Is there a bit of pressure? Could you kind of, I don't know, try and explain that to the viewers? Is there that little bit of tensity there?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I was feeling it myself because I'm going in there as a supporter. Ordinarily, you're quite disconnected from.
By the way, you were brilliant. Just so you know, I thought you were outstanding. To be fair.
Cheers, I appreciate it. I was kicking myself for not getting a photo of me interviewing Harry Kane. Like, I don't know how I've missed the opportunity there. For me, that was a real sort of box ticked, and I just completely didn't do it. But anyway, listen, to answer your question, because it's a really important point, I think, is that you go in there and you're quite disconnected from the emotion at clubs because it's not your club. Why would you have an emotion? It's the most difficult part of the job is interviewing a manager that has just lost and is under extreme pressure, because you're going to have to ask those difficult questions and they're going to hate you for doing it, you know, but you're not there to be anyone's mate. So I didn't mind Nuno reacting the way that he did. If anything, you're sort of almost quite prepared for those moments, because, you know, it wouldn't be realistic for him not to be. Why would he be chirpy and sort of upbeat when you know full well that, I imagine it from his point of view, you know, he's coming at this job. This job's probably a real upgrade on anything he's done before. There's a real chance for him to be ambitious and to take a big club and to try and improve them and to try and really impose himself as potentially a top manager. So, you know, he'd be devastated with the beginning, especially as he was definitely weren't September's. He was the August manager of the month, wasn't he? So, like, what a great start, and how much that would have meant to him. And then all of a sudden he might have felt like, but, you know, we're not as good as the results reflect. And if anything, that would be, you know, it'd be almost like, ironically, a negative, because you're creating this expectation that you don't feel like the level you're at the minute, or where the team are at, is necessarily going to be able to continue with. Again, odd that we would then lose 3 games in a row. But yeah, I would just imagine that anyway, the win today huge relief. Does he? I don't think he has those people skills. Like my, not that I'm a psychotherapist or anything. It's not my job to kind of judge people as to who they are, because I spoke to him for 90 seconds, for God's sake. But I would just imagine that, and the experience is odd, because you stood there. I've done my apprenticeship in the National League, if you like, where you've really got to know managers and everyone's like really chatty, and you can literally stand there for 10 minutes after the interview ends, talking tactics and talking about everything, and that's what's so great about that. But obviously stakes are a lot higher than obviously in the 5th tier, and as a result they basically get wheeled out, and it's go. You do the interview, and there's no like, oh, cheers or shaking hands. It's very impersonal, and and they're off to do the next one, because they're on a conveyor belt really of media. None of them probably want to do it. They
Nuno
have to do it.
I think, Jeff, you probably noticed well, Nuno, from interviews, only from what we've read, I think Fergie used to go to press conferences, and for him it was almost like actually part of the game was winning the press conference. Whereas Nuno, I just get that feeling with him that he just doesn't like the media, in terms of doesn't want to really share too much. It's very kind of almost to the point, and that's it. He'll answer your question, but he'll only give you the direct point. He won't give you any more than that. Do you see where I'm coming from? I
listened to his interview post-match today with, I think it was Jeff Shreves that did it, and he's because he's won, obviously straight away he's going to want to talk about the performance, he's going to want to talk about formation, what he did well, what the team did well. But the minute Jeff asked him about individuals, you could tell, like in his response, it was just prickly again. It was like, he would jump in and actually not even let Jeff finish his question. And that for me is you don't see that often. I don't think you don't see it with the really experienced Premier League managers, because I guess they preempt it and I know what's coming. But his way of dealing with shutting down questions can come across, I think, a touch rude.
Okay. I mean, just to bring it back to the game, and Jeff, listen, really appreciate that insight. Thank you ever so much for that. TJ, today's performance, I think many will feel that, from a Spurs team, when you look at it, we've been asking for a side that would show, heart, fight, passion, desire, creativity, actually making chances. And I think today, it gave us a bit of encouragement. I think, today's a really good day. I know we said in the past that, the Pochettino turning point was Aston Villa. And of course, that was an away game with the Harry Kane free kick. But for maybe different reasons, maybe this is the turning point for Nuno. I know there's loads of Spurs fans watching this live that are saying, not a chance, you're in dream world. I know there's many that made their mind up already. But in the context that, what are we now? We're 7 games into a Premier League season. We've got an international break round the corner. I think it's fair to say that I don't think he's going to be going anywhere at the moment. So just for you, TJ, how important was that reaction from the team to, come back, fight adversity and show that determination to get that result?
It's everything. It's everything. Again, being a fan of this podcast and listening to so many stellar debates, one thing that, well, I suppose the one thing that fans demand is 100% effort. That's really all we ask for. And I think that, again, as Tottenham fans, we have to be pragmatic and understanding. However, effort is a decision. It's got nothing to do with your fitness. It's got nothing to do with your ability. It's got nothing to do with your technique. To give all of yourself, and listen, we don't know each other. I'm that person in everything. I do it to the very best of my ability, whether I'm playing football. And actually, Jeff, I just remembered we actually played football together. I was like, how do I know this dude? We played football together about 1 million years ago, back when I was living in London. I'll remember when and where in a minute. But we demand that of our players. And so not, again, to talk about Nuno too much, but of course he's going to be responsible. But the players are also responsible. Stand up. Give everything. That's all we want, man. Give everything for the badge. Give everything for the shirt. And we saw that today. Yes, the formation was right. Yes, playing Ndombele further up the field when he gives the ball away doesn't matter so much. Yes, Skipp and Højbjerg were excellent. Yes, man, I thought Emerson was brilliant. Loads of energy. Sonny was next level. Romero made Dyer look like a player all of a sudden. Listen, Romero's passing, madon, but his tackling was fantastic. And, Sergio Reguilon, who I'm really 50-50 on at the moment, looked terrific. But that's effort, dude. That's effort. And that is really what we demand. So hats off to Nuno and hats off to the players. You got to play like that, boys. Because to be honest, like Lee said, we made a very, very good side that just went to Old Trafford last week and turned them over. That's not easy.
No.
We made them look very ordinary. And actually, if we're going to have a gripe, and again, Lee's saying he's very hoarse from singing songs rather than moaning, and isn't that pleasant? If we are going to have a gripe, why didn't you score 5? Score 5. You had so many chances to score more. But listen, we won, we take the 3 points. So happy days. So if our problem is, we should have taken all of those opportunities, that's a real turnaround, man. Because guys, we were on a rapid decline. And the wheels can come off a football club very, very quickly. And so I'm extremely enthused and buoyed. And Ricky's saying, guys out there saying we're in dreamland. We're Tottenham fans. We have to be in dreamland. What are we going to do? You know what I mean? We can't just go to the owner and go, could you give us a check for 500 million quid? I saw this bloke on FIFA. I thought he was really good. Can we buy him? Yeah, go on then. We're not that club, And so you have to really give it your all, because this is one of the things I wanted to talk about today. Maybe not right now, because I don't want to go into a massive speech. But really, why are we suddenly in the era of football where a manager's job is choose the 11, set the formation, and buy players? Why don't you develop players anymore? Why don't you make players better? Again, if we look at that Pochettino era, who was a huge signing? Who was a huge cash signing? Nobody. We made those players.
We didn't make any for 518 days.
What's that, brother?
We didn't make any signings at all for 518 days on the
nothing.
So,
but Lee, we smashed it. You're absolutely. We went 2 signings without signing anyone, right?
Yeah,
so
2 minutes,
what happened at that club under that tutelage of Pochettino and his training staff, which is very important. Don't forget those guys. You know what I mean? It's very important. Make them better, man. And so for me, when I hear, whether it's true or not, and again, I'm not like Jeff, I don't have the access to, I don't really know what's happening. I suspect none of us really know what's happening unless you're in it. But when I hear a player or 2 players or 5 players or 10 players complain about the attitude of the manager or complain about the atmosphere at the club, I swear that makes me want to kill people. It's like when an actor moans. I can't stand it when they called me, I was running 15 minutes late and somebody called me to say, well, don't be 15 minutes late then. You get paid a fortune to wear funny clothes and dress around, and everyone kisses your ass because they have to do it, whether you're a good actor or not. And I've seen some shitty actors and they get treated like Meryl Streep. And then you want to get upset because somebody calls you to say, excuse me, where are you? Be on time if you don't want that phone call. It's the same with these guys.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Listen, I live in America, right? And I'm not, football is my only thing. I can't stand American football or baseball. I can't stand it, right? I don't have time for it. I'm a football guy. But what I love to watch is any show or any series that is about American football. It's the best. It's the best because it's about moments. American football. Let's talk. Maybe we try this. I throw to you, and then Jeff runs here, and then Lee runs there, and then Ricky's in the end zone. Let's try. And then I throw it, and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. We have another conversation. We try to do it again. So as a live thing, I can't watch it. But as a TV show or a movie, it's the best. Now, look at how their coaches talk to those players, even if they're 8 years old. They talk to them like they're nothing. You think any of those guys going home? Oh, I think the coach is grumpy. He's trying to get you to be better. So if he's grumpy, but he makes you better, and then you score, you're going to hug him like you wouldn't believe. Remember how they used to hug Poch? You think he's telling them all the time, I love you, you guys are so great, and cuddling them and bringing them cups of tea? No, man. He's working these guys 2-a-days, and they want us to complain about 2-a-days. Look how fit we were under Poch. Yeah. Get better, man. Get better. I'm out.
TJ, so can I just, what do you think we need to do then in terms of getting the best out of Dele? Because I think we're all a little bit hanging on to what he was, what we want him to emulate again. What do you think he needs from this manager?
That's such a big one, Jeff. I mean, listen, again, listening to this show, I know Dele is a player that really divides people. And the thing is as well about a player like Dele. So, okay, no disrespect. I love it, and I have respect for everyone who plays the game, and I understand it's very difficult, and we love it so much, and they carry a lot of responsibility. And listen, they're only young men, and a lot of them come from really bad backgrounds, and we often forget that as well, that they come from a very difficult place, and everyone has a bad day at the office, right? However, when Ben Davies has a bad game. We don't treat him like we treat Dele when he has a bad game. The reason is because Dele is so good, man. He's so good. It was like Eriksen last season. Like I used to say to people, like I got a lot of, like I said, even, of course, I've got a bunch of my mates back home. We're all on a thread and we're constantly talking about Tottenham, Richard, Nidal, Steve, big up, boys. And then my boys here, like Ted and Josh. And I've got a lot of people that I'm constantly talking football to. JB, what up, man? And the thing is that when Eriksen would go missing towards the end of the season, we would smash him, because when you're that good, if you drop off 10%, you're gone, and it makes such a massive difference for us. And I think that's the thing, Jeff, is that when Dele isn't firing, it's such a massive miss for us, dude. You expect him to come out and just bam. He was so good, and he's still so young. So I think how you get him back, I don't know, man. Is it an arm around the shoulder? Is it smack him a little bit? It's probably the latter, because he's had so many cuddles. Yalla, get on with it now. Get on with it and play. Maybe a smack.
That's why it's so frustrating with Tungai as well, right? It's the same situation. When you look at Tungai and Dembele, it's a very, very similar situation. The thing is with Dele, he's got the talent. He has. And everyone on the show, I'm not going to go on about him too much because I'll get pelters for loving him too much. But, Jeff, you did bring it up, to be fair. But, with Dele, he's done it. He's done it. He's done the business in the Premier League, right? And that is very, very hard to do. You look at a Jesse Lingard who was doing the business in the Premier League before he dropped off. And you look at Dele versus Lingard, and Dele was miles in front of him. And then Lingard's had a real dip. He's had some problems, in his private life or whatever it might be. He's had to go out on loan to another Premier League club, rediscover his form. He's got back into the England side. Now he's scoring goals again for Man United. Maybe that's what needs to happen with Dele. Maybe Dele needs to go and find himself again elsewhere, and then come back. But the problem I see with Dele is that, like I think you said it just a minute ago, we're still hanging on to what he was before. But because what he was before, and I think TJ's perfect there, he was bloody brilliant. That's why we're hanging on to it. I remember sitting. I mean, he's always divided opinion. As somebody just said about flicks and tricks. Tungai and Dembele is the same, flicks and tricks. The problem is, if they don't try them, when one of them comes off, they're an absolute genius, and that is the difference in the game. If you don't try the flicks and tricks, sorry, Rick, then you'll never know if you can do them or not. Do you get what I mean?
I think what also is key to bring up is that if you look at, and I'm not putting Spurs in this category at the moment because we're not there, but if you look at the likes of Chelsea, City, Liverpool, would those clubs be patient and wait for a player after 2 to 3 seasons to come back to that elite form? I don't think they would do. I don't think they would wait for Lo Celso. I don't think they would wait for Ndombele. I don't think they would wait for Dele Alli. Jeff, you got your hand up there. Do you disagree?
Chelsea have just given Loftus-Cheek and Barkley another go. They stuck them in yesterday and they look quality, both of them. So that's just one or two examples. But sometimes it's, there's a psychological block. And again, it's not our area of expertise as fans. We just, did they turn up or not? But there's something stopping him from getting back to where he was, and I'm just intrigued as to what that is.
Yeah, I totally agree.
EBGB, isn't it? Like in darts, sometimes they get dartitis, don't they? And they can't, all of a sudden, they just can't throw a dart. Like they've lost the plot. They can't do it anymore. And that's maybe he's got, like you said, a psychological block. I mean, I hope he gets it back. I hope he does.
What I would say, John, just to finish on Dele, because we've got to go for a quick break for our listeners on audio. What I would say is that when I saw the reaction today of the joy of so many Spurs fans of Dele Alli not in that team, it actually made me feel quite sad. And not because I don't disagree that Dele shouldn't be in the starting 11 at Tottenham, because I feel at the moment Dele isn't good enough and isn't contributing enough to be a first-team player at Tottenham. But it just made me feel quite sad just to see the amount of people actually taking so much joy in the fact that Dele wasn't in the team. And I think we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, Jeff, like you say, psychologically for a guy. And I think you have to bear in mind that sometimes there's a human in there. And I think sometimes we lose that sense of, a footballer, they have got emotions too. And of course, ultimately, for the job they do on the pitch, they've got to be good enough, in terms of being a footballer. And I have to say at the moment, I don't think Dele's good enough to go in that first 11. But before we go for our quick break, Jeff, I will come around back to you, I promise you. I'm just going to give a flavour of some of our listener questions that we've had here. We've had over 50 come in. So this is from Mark Butcher, who says, a much better performance, especially from Emerson Royal, Christian Romero. We're going to come on to those guys. Padre J says, a step in the right direction, showed something more up top, showed some fight. Sonny was Superman. Romero is the real deal. Perhaps a bit of sun in the garden this week. Smiling face with the sunglasses on in terms of this pod. Darren Blake says, much better performance. Maybe I'm taking it for granted, but this was a fixture I expected us to win, and we did make it hard for ourselves. But I don't want to get carried away. Still not keen on the tactics, although the players were good and performed better. Sam Lewis says, huge win, proper team performance. That has to be up there in terms of the performances so far this season. And Matt Turnbull says, we look much more comfortable in a 4-2-3-1 formation. I agree. And I say, for our listeners on audio, we are going to go for a quick break. Taking you into this break, you're going to hear from Nuno Espirito Santo and also from Heung-min Son, who give their reaction to Spurs returning back to winning ways in the Premier League. For our watching audience on YouTube, I think there's nearly over 500 of you watching us live. Thank you so much. I think it's more for TJ's hand actions more than anything else at the moment, which has gone down absolutely on fire. People loving Jeff and Lee at the same time, of course. So we are going to get back away for this second half. And Lee, let's come to you, because I just want to touch upon the team selection going into this game, because I think it's fair to say, as always, when a team selection comes out on Spurs Twitter, was it 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you see the reaction it causes. There's always an uproar. But this one saw 3 changes from the North London derby. We saw Emerson Royal, Romero and Skipp replace Tanganga, Sanchez and Dele. Straight from kickoff, you could see that it was an operation of 4-2-3-1. Tungi Ndombele is an advanced number 10 in that role. And was you quite happy, Lee, to see that change of tactics from Nuno and also Dele Alli on the bench?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, didn't we, in the group before over the last couple of days on the WhatsApp group that we have, and what would you play? We knew that Villa was going to set up as a 3 at the back, and they play high up. They've got 3 in the midfield as well. So I thought it was always going to be important that we don't lose our battle in midfield. Our midfield against Arsenal was basically non-existent, right? It didn't even exist. When you go back after how he's chopped and changed, I think we started with 3 defensive midfield against Crystal Palace. So, I think he got it right today. Like I say, the conundrum is Dele, Gio, and Ndombele. I think all 3 of them could potentially play there. You can throw Hill in that situation as well, whether or not he comes in from the left or he plays in the number 10. You could put Lucas down the middle. A lot of people, no one's ever going to forget the fact that he scored a hat-trick against Ajax in Amsterdam, and he was playing down the middle that day. So, and all of his goals that he scored that day come from being down the middle. So he's got the ability to do that as well. So I was happy with Romero coming in. I thought he was excellent today. Lovely to see Emerson as well. I mean, I think he gives us that natural attacking fullback. A lot of people sort of said that he's better going forward than he is defending. But again, I was in the South Stand when he done that amazing tackle in the first half against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. And again, I thought he was absolutely brilliant from a defensive perspective as well. So I was pleased to see that lineup. I think us Tottenham fans are very used to, aren't we? That 4-2-3-1. It's the formation that got us or has brought us the most joy over the last kind of 6. I know talking about Tottenham and joy at the moment is probably not the best 2 words to use, but over the last kind of 6-7 years or so, it has brought us joy, that 4-2-3-1. So, it also from a Nuno perspective, it is good to see that he is changing it up. Because he has been a stickler for 4-3-3, which hadn't been working so well. So I was pleased with the formation and the attacking intent. I did think that Kane did roam about a bit today. Like Jeff right at the beginning of the show talked about the Kane scenario. I thought Kane did roam about a little bit down the left sometimes, down the right sometimes, but he also did stay quite up top, more up top this game in a whole than what he had been before. He wasn't dropping deeper, and that's maybe because there was a bit more trust in the likes of Ndombele in that kind of number 10 role. But again, I'm disappointed with Ndombele, I have to say, even again today, like the amount of nothingness that he creates. Sometimes we're on a different wavelength. Sometimes he puts a ball through that no one else sees. Maybe it's because his mind works different to other people. Maybe he's that good. No one else can keep up in that way. But some of the basics that TJ was so animated about earlier, about that heart and that effort and that no, in a good way, TJ, to be fair, but he just doesn't have any of that. It doesn't feel like he wants to be there. He never plays with a smile on his face. It's always seemed like it's a laboured effort with Tunga and Dembele, and I just feel that whatever that is, that maybe he's got a mental block as well. But whatever that is, if you can get rid of that and play with a smile on his face, he could be absolutely out. He could be we said it coming off out of the ground today. There's so many murmurs and stuff, and everyone's happy. And one of the lads turned around to me and said, Tunga and Dembele, what is the matter with him? He reminds me of Adebayor. Adebayor could have been the greatest striker in the world, but he just didn't fancy it. He just didn't want to do the effort. And Dave said today, he said Tunga and Dembele could be the best player in the Premier League. You just don't fancy it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Jeff, I want to come over to you. Spurs do score, and it's a lovely goal to get us on our way. And Romero making that crucial interception, eventually to Højbjerg and Son breaking up the pitch, and it ends with a Dane who curls a low finish in that bottom corner. And to be fair, that was a quality finish from Højbjerg. I didn't actually think he had that kind of finish in him. How important was the timing of that goal for you in that game, Jeff?
For me, it's his first touch that sets him up. Such a good first touch that he just saw. Obviously, all he had to do is shape it in the corner. In terms of the timing of it, it's our reaction, isn't it, to go in, or to them equalising. That's the most pleasing for. Obviously, not that was the second goal, but I think any time to go one up. Certainly in the first half, you see Nuno's previous statistics from Wolves and how we don't score first half goals, and it was great that we just saw a different. All the things we've been worried and apprehensive about, that seemed to be the opposite. They got off to a better start, so but we're at home and we should be sort of in the ascendancy, and that obviously proved to be the case. But yeah, taking our chances. We've had until Harry starts scoring these goals in the Premier League, then everybody's got to chip in, and you're right, it was quite an unlikely candidate, wasn't it?
Yeah, the reason why I asked you about the timing, Jeff, is because I think a game like that today, with the pressure on the manager generally, I think if we go into that second half and it is still 0-0, and naturally the crowd, it isn't the record attendance today, it is a lower attendance than normal. You just start getting those creeps, those niggles start coming. That's why I'm thinking, to score first half, the timing we did, I thought was so important in terms of setting the tone for the game, that we wouldn't be in that situation later on. Although there was that equaliser, I think scoring that first half did make a little bit of a difference.
Well, it relaxed me. I don't know about everybody else watching and listening, but, to see that we're 1-0 up at half time, it sort of also did the impact it will have on the players, knowing that after the other night, again, irrespective of the opposition, we've hit 5 and here we are scoring again. So we're in the game. It's been a little while, I guess, since. Well, it's obviously just been a week, but you're almost apprehended. But can we do it in the Premier League? Please let us put in a performance so that I can go into this international break as a fan feeling like we're not really up what street. So yeah, it just brought us back to actually, all right, it's not maybe as much of a crisis as we've told ourselves, and we don't need to panic as much as we possibly have been.
I agree. I do. It's funny because I thought Højbjerg on a day, I think he was a big presence in that midfield. And I know there's been a few over the last couple of weeks with Højbjerg. I've seen a couple of murmurs and a couple of moans about him. But I've said this before that, I think we have to take into account at times, I think the guy's doing 3 or 4 players different jobs. I mean, I look at him sometimes and I think that Arsenal game, I mentioned this on another show, I think he looks around thinking, I just can't be doing this. I think he's emotionally, mentally knackered, everyone's physically as well. I mean, last season we really did, I think, burnt him to the ground, Højbjerg, to a point where I think towards the end he was so drained. And I think he came from Southampton, which I think he thought for Spurs was an upgrade of a move. And I think at times he must have thought, God, the amount of work I'm having to do here. I think it's just really, really tough. And TJ, I just want to discuss the equaliser because. Let's be honest about it. At 1-0, I think any Spurs fan will tell you, and as you probably know as well, we're never safe at 1-0. Probably not 2-0. Probably not 3-0. 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. 7-0. We're never safe. You know where I'm going with this. But
I believe we were actually having that conversation over Twitter when they equalised. So
even though Spurs were on top in terms of the possession, you could just sense there was that worry that Villa were going to score. And you look at it, it's a case where we're punished for not taking our chances. And, you know, the goal comes with moments there where kind of Romero overcommits on a challenge. Defensively, when you look at the team, although, like I say, Romero's coming in again to try and find his role in a new back four, have you got confidence that will grow throughout the season, him and Dyer?
Yes, I do.
That will work?
Yes, I do. I mean, so to go back to the equaliser, I mean, I mentioned to Lee as well, my brother Nidal was at the game today with his son, Xavi, and we were talking a little bit, and it was completely against the run of play. Now, that's Tottenham. Again, we you know, we're nowhere near a finished article yet. Everybody is aware of that. However, there were so many positives today. But unfortunately, you know, with the goal, and again, Lee and I were talking about Tongi earlier, I may be wrong in this, but I believe there was, how can I put this diplomatically, a languid attempt at a clearance where he sort of cushioned the ball, and I believe it landed straight at the feet of McGinn, and then it was pinged around a little bit and ended up on the left, and I think it was probably Target who put it in, and then Ollie Watkins knocked it in. So listen, every time we concede a goal, I'm going to be irritated, as most Tottenham fans. You're going to look at it and go, you know, that was poor defending, or this was poor, or this was poor. But again, not to use too many footballing cliches, but, you know, every player has to defend. I mean, you know, it's probably still Harry Kane that wins most defensive headers from corners and from set pieces and what have you. So everybody has to take responsibility. And actually, this is going to be a really beautiful segue into Højbjerg. I mean, I'm a massive, massive fan of his because, again, you know, we don't know each other. And again, I don't know if there's anyone who's watching or listening to this that does know me, but I'm very much a 100% how you do anything is how you do everything type person. And I'm not saying I'm terrific at everything. No, not even near that. But if I'm going to do something, I will give it 100%. And Højbjerg is that player. We've often talked as well. You have often talked on this show how we lack leaders. Can anyone say that this man isn't a leader? He is 100% a leader and an inspirational leader. We've also talked about, and I actually agree with you, Ricky. I know you're of the opinion that you're not a fan of the captain of the team being the goalkeeper. He's just too far away from things. Yeah. For example, Jaffet getting sent off, and I adore Jaffet, but calm down. Calm down. Why wasn't someone come up to him and say, listen, man, I love you to pieces, but if you commit one more foul, relax. Well, where's that guy? I'm telling you, Pierre is that guy. You know, I mean, listen, like a lot of people in Scandinavia, his English is superb. He's got a great voice. The engine on the guy is unbelievable. He played every second under Jose. He played every second for Denmark. They went all the way to the semis, and now he's playing every second for us. And you know what, mate? You're right that he is doing the job of 3 or 4 players, but he's capable of doing so. And more of that. Dude, so much of life and so much of football is grit, tenacity, and he has it in spades. So do I believe that that back four will be more self-assured and more reliable? 100%. I believe Romero is a big part of that, but it starts at the top of the pitch and works its way down. You can't expect a battering ram and for them just to stand. Everyone has to take responsibility in defending as they do in attacking, and that's modern football, as we know. You know, so yes, I am enthused, but everybody has to continue to shoulder the burden, so we don't have players like Højbjerg doing 3 people's job.
What upset me about the goal was actually Dyer not anticipating the ball across the front post. I just feel like we've been there quite a few times with him, and I just want him to sort of, as his game obviously this season has improved significantly, and I think the people that he's playing with is helping as well. But yeah, I just felt like that cross was always coming in, and it's maybe his job to intercept and get across the front of it. I
completely concur, and I think that. Under Romero, again, these are going to be things that he learns. And actually, similarly to Højbjerg, I believe Dyer will understand I actually have to do less than when I play with either Rodon or Sanchez or Tanganga. I have to do less. So what I do have to do, I will be able to do to a far higher standard because I really have a very, very gifted player right next to me. Again, it was wonderful to hear, Lee. I would be interested to hear, because you were there today, every time Romero made one of those interceptions, of which there were a multitude, this enormous roar from the crowd, because again, he imbues us with confidence and with strength and again with leadership. And I know his English isn't there yet. He's been in the country about 15 minutes. But I think when he gets some English, and of course we have such a special bond with Argentinian players, I think he's going to be a very special player for us.
I do want to ask Lee on that. Lee, it was his interception that for Spurs on the break led to Højbjerg's goal before the half-hour mark. And then there were some really good moments. It was, that late lunge at the end that kind of left him out of position. But on the whole, I think it was such an impressive performance from Romero. And like I think TJ says there, I think he does exude confidence. In terms of, for fans, I think we have looked for this kind of transformative defender that's going to reassure us at the back. I've still got massive reservations whether the guys next to him are going to work long term. But I think in Romero, we may have found that player we've been looking for. How impressed was you by him today, Lee?
Yeah, really impressed. And he loves defending. And that's the first and foremost. That's the bit that I think you're talking about there, TJ, as well. It's like he loves defending. There's one guy in world football that absolutely loves it, and we all know it's Chiellini. And when he makes a tackle, he just goes mental as if he scored a goal for it. And the passion and enthusiasm in there, it's just amazing. Like if Romero can be that for us, he's going to, don't get me wrong, to be as good as Chiellini. Not being funny, I'm not putting the pressure on him, but he's very, very well assured. I think he gives an air of just calm, like, do you know what I mean? Like just a bit calm at the back, and like, yeah, we can. And when he's going out and clearing things out and heading things out, he's doing it with purpose, and it's not just whacking it into row Z either. So he's assured as coming out with the ball as well. Very impressive. It's obviously clear this is his best game that he's played for us so far. I don't think he's played too many games for us. It's clearly not in the Premier League. So, and the problem with Romero is going to be this Argentinian 14-day, 10-day, situation going on again.
Yeah,
and when we started talking about, to be fair to Jeff and TJ, you both kind of back Nuno in a sense of, look, it's not been 10 games yet, and he's had a lot to deal with. That's another thing that he's had to deal with. That us fans, we just go, yeah, whatever, let's, But he's coming into the Chelsea game with three of the team that he wants to pick. They can't even be picked. They've been training away in Croatia, for God's sake. Absolute nightmare situation. So, and Romero being one of them. Do you imagine if Romero coming with no knocks at all, walk straight into that team with no Argentina? The other results may have been different. They might not have, but they may have been different.
Yeah.
I think the other thing as well, from a defending perspective today, is that we were higher up the pitch, and there was periods in the first probably 15, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so, where we're still quite deep. And I was saying to the guys, I was saying to Andy actually next to me, look, I always believe that we need to push up and take a risk moving forward a little bit more, defending almost on your halfway line rather than actually defending on your 18-yard box. And I think in the second half, that was, or certainly after we scored, that was much better. We started to push up more. Maybe that was Romero's influence in the back line as well. But certainly with Emerson going up that right hand side as well, and Reggie on the other side, we wasn't afraid to push up and to push out. And again, I genuinely believe that's how we should be playing, because it gets us on the front foot. It gets the ball into areas of the pitch where if the opposition lose that ball in that area of the pitch, you can pounce. And that's what we used to do so well in days. I'm not going to mention his name. I've talked about him previously so many times. But under different managers, that we say, that's what we used to do so well. Yes, have that press, but actually do it higher up the pitch. So when you nick the ball, even under Jose, even under Nuno at certain times, what was it last season when Lucas nicked the ball? I think it might have been against Palace, when Lucas nicked the ball and, in their final third, in our final third, and then all of a sudden, we go off and score. They're the moments. And actually, if you push the defenders 15, 20 yards further up the pitch, you can create them moments. I think you have to back yourself with having the speed, if you like, to get back if a ball goes in behind or over the top. But yeah, I really like him. I think he's a very, very good player for us. I think he's going to be a good one.
Jeff, coming over to you. You brought up Eric Dyer. Feel free to also add to Romero the love for him if you wish. But I wanted to ask you on Dyer purely on the basis that there was plenty of blocks, plenty of interceptions in that first half. But as you said, he had to come across to cover for Romero in the build up to Villa's goal. Left that space in behind for Watkins to score. Do you genuinely feel that he's still good enough for Tottenham, Eric Dyer, in terms of a centre-back pairing with Romero? Or do you think that Spurs are going to have to go back into the transfer market to look for another, I'll use this term, transformative defender to play alongside Romero? Because in the summer, it was clear Spurs were after just more than one defender, more than one centre-back. So does Dyer still give you confidence?
Again, I love the fact that it's Romero that instills the confidence, and he's going to improve whoever he's playing next to. I think Dyer has earned our respect, let's say, for the way that he started this season, because they were throwing themselves in front of absolutely everything. I remember being at Wolves away and just marvelling in how we got away with that. And a lot of it was to do with their finishing, and a lot of it was to do with us putting bodies in the way. But he's another one for me. He's a little bit like Dele in that he sort of started off up there in our estimations, and then he had a bit of a dip. So you don't become a bad player overnight, nor within a season either. But mentally, you have to still want to be at the club. You want to have to still, we don't know how his near sort of transfer to Man United might have impacted on him. Maybe he saw that as that's what he wanted. And ever since then, maybe has it been underwhelming that he's sort of stood at the club? Because that's going to be the case for a few people. We talked about Ndombele earlier and how, what's wrong with him. And I think it's because he made it quite plain and clear that he didn't want to be at the club anymore. And some people are more professional about it than others. I think Harry's one of them. He'll be very professional about it because he's got goals to score to maintain his own standards, if you like, and to obviously warrant whatever happens when we do lose him. But whereas others don't care, they're collecting their dough, and they're just going to sort of sit there until the next window comes along, and they're off out. But anyway, so to answer your question, Dyer, much improved. There's obviously always going to be aspects of his game to improve, but I think he's done well enough for us to be like, okay, all right, let's see where this develops to.
One final one, Jeff, before I go over to TJ. Do you think Rodon can count himself very unlucky to not have had more of a look in so far? Because I know that's a point that's come up quite often. Do you think he's been unlucky to not have had more game time so far, Rodon?
He seems to be last in the pecking order, doesn't he? And obviously the managers see him all day in training. They put Sanchez in front of him, Dyer in front of him, and obviously Romero, who's just come in, who's bought to obviously go in first choice. I work with a lad from Swansea who supports Swansea. He's like, you've got one hell of a player there, and he'll be one of the top defenders in the Premier League.
Everyone keeps saying that.
Yeah. I think most lads who supported his previous club would have done and have said that. So maybe look, this doesn't always develop as quickly as we'd like it to as fans. We want them to come in oven ready, and sometimes actually there's an element of them sort of making a few mistakes, learning for those mistakes, because it is no doubt it's a completely it's a massive step up, isn't it? So again, maybe next season is when he comes good. He might not come good, and that's the problem with the transfer market, is how do you know which ones are going to come off and which don't? And at Tottenham, I don't think we ever get. They don't always come off for us today.
No, I think it's fair to say the last couple of years. Well, I think Lee, you cracked me up, Lee, when we said Paratici, all this great work he's done. Where's he gone the last couple of weeks? He's gone off on holiday now, had a break.
Left it's amazing, isn't it? Amazing. He's on the bench again today. We win. Couldn't make it up.
Can we just get him on that bench permanently? Can we just stick him on that bench permanently?
You couldn't make this stuff up, though, could you? I know. You've got to go over to TJ, but literally, like he's on the first 3 games. He's on the bench with Steve Hitchen, giving it large and doing more hand gestures than myself and TJ tonight. And we win 3-0, right? And we win 3 games, sorry. And then you can't. He's not around for love nor money. We lose them all, and then he comes back. We win.
But Nuno doesn't. So Nuno'll stand there, as you know, and he's not really doesn't gesticulate at all. Is that an issue? I think your modern manager tries not to feel like they're playing the game for players, because they're professionals at the top level, and secondly, the view is if you've done your job in the week leading up to the game, then you don't need to stand there screaming and shouting. I think that's more for us fans. We like passion. I don't think the players necessarily need it.
I'm not worried about Nuno screaming or shouting. I just thought you could not make the fact up that Paratici's on the bench for 3 games. We win them. He's not on the bench for 3 games. We lose him. He's back. We win one again. Then maybe there's something there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it puts maybe him gestating or whatever, like puts the willies up everyone else. Who knows? We never find out.
If we stick TJ down there, we must be winning the league, surely, if we get him on the bench with the as well.
Yes,
you get a few aeroplanes landing in there though as well.
Listen, aeroplanes, trophies, we'll take anything, Jeff. I tell you, we'll take anything. TJ, let's stick with you because Spurs did immediately retake the lead after that equaliser from Watkins for Villa. Son got down the left-hand side, beat his man, fired a low ball across to Lucas, who smashed it in at the back post. But, I mean, just to focus on Son, because I just think this guy, I mean, the amount of love I've got for him, you know, at a time when you look at Spurs and we are, as I said, going through yet another transitional season. It feels like we say that for the last, God knows, 15, 20 seasons of transitional, that word. But Son just so much impresses me in just terms of his love for the shirt, his love for the club, love for the fans. And generally, like I say, I saw that interview today he gave to Spurs TV after the game to Malsey. And again, I think Son is one of those players in that squad that genuinely is quite hurt by that performance against Arsenal. And I think the way he spoke from the heart, that's what really does appease to many, many Spurs fans. And it's funny because when Son signed that contract in the summer, as much as I'm a Tottenham fan, I was absolutely delighted him signing it. Part of me thought, is this guy crazy? Is this guy crazy committing his future to Tottenham? And don't get me wrong, listen, he's adored by the club. And when you see quotes, you know, he wants to win the trophies with Tottenham, and we all want that, don't get me wrong. But how impressed are you with him? Because he is just become now, for me, just that kind of next level up, Son, and almost to a point where he actually enjoys the responsibility on his shoulders now.
Yeah, he's, listen, he's my favourite Tottenham player. And he very quickly became my favourite Tottenham player as soon as he arrived. Partly because he plays with a smile on his face. I do believe he's a gentleman. I know people were talking about, who was it? Was it Gomez at Everton? You know, that horrific injury that he suffered, and people were talking about, oh, you know, Son did something intentionally, or whatever. And that he was very, very quickly excused from, you know, any kind of wrongdoing, and it really hurt him. And he cried. And so, again, to hark back to what Jeff was saying about how fans want to see a manager behaving on the sideline, this sort of very stoic, statuesque person, you know, and also the sort of the grey beard and his stature, that doesn't enthuse fans or perhaps illustrate to us that you really care. I remember a couple of seasons ago when Conte was at Chelsea, I can't remember, they were away somewhere and they'd scored like a last minute goal or something. And the guy ran along and was hanging off the top of the dugout and kind of doing chin-ups. I mean, it was just the most extraordinary thing. And, you know, that's what we want to see from our managers. If you're not that kind of personality, fine, fake it, dude. Fake it. But as far as Sonny goes, there's no one, I mean, I think it actually was on the Tottenham Twitter thing today, or maybe it wasn't. Actually, it might have been John Wenham, who's like a guy that I adore, is a good mate of mine on Twitter, you know, Lily White Rose. I know he's going to be on the show actually soon. I think it was maybe him who posted something, no one is more coys than Sonny. And he's right. If that wasn't you, mate, just gave you a massive compliment for no reason. But I'm sure he would have said something utterly fabulous.
He's one of my own, mate. You won't mind.
Right. So, you know, Sonny, there was this debate for a while, who would we rather lose? You know, would it be Harry or Sonny? I believe that ship has sailed. No, I don't believe anyone's going to say, oh, Harry is more important than Sonny. No, not a chance. Yeah. You know, not a chance. And it's not even to do with, it's not entirely to do with goals and assists. It is more than that. You know, I don't believe Harry has stopped trying. I don't believe he's that personality. And this is something as well that I wanted to talk about today, and I'll do a little bit of it now, maybe, and we can get into it later. You know, Ricky, you'll steer the ship as you always do so well. But really, talking about effort and everything before, for me, it's character. You know, the character of a player. Again, to talk about Tongi, no one is going to dispute his ability. It is a different game to him, Lee. It is, mate. You know, like when you were talking, like maybe it's different in his head. Mate, it's different in his head and in his heart and in his body and in his feet. It is a different game to him. He does play it at a higher level. But his character is wanting. My former favourite, and I've had favourite Tottenham players over the years. My former favourite Tottenham player before Sonny arrived was Moussa Dembele. Oof. Ooh, what a player. You know, Rolls Royce purring through the midfield. And the thing is as well, everyone's, oh, you never get the ball off him. Everyone in training, who's the best? Moussa's the best. He was just this wonderfully composed. When you were talking about Romero before, Lee, you know, how he has that composure and he's so calm. He's almost sort of tranquil, like he's at a spa. It reminds me of Moussa Dembele. It doesn't matter the opponent. It doesn't matter whether you're 3-0 down or 3-0 up. He just purred through the midfield. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to stand you up, do a little shimmy, then he's going to go left. And that's what he always did. He'll do right onto left and he's around you. And you couldn't stop him. You know what he's going to do and he did it. And so his character was never found wanting. Sonny is never found wanting for passion or for effort or for desire. And it's real, it's real. If Nuno, if you have to fake it, do it a little bit. But for Sonny, it's real, dude.
Just to ask on Sonny and Jeff and obviously Rick as well, because digging you out a little bit here, mate. But
I'm all right. I'm all right.
No, what do you say to some of them fans that think that Sonny goes missing in parts of the season?
Mate, I'll say the same thing that I said about those premium elite players. If they drop off 5%, it's an enormous difference because you play at such a high level. Your darts analogy. If you're a dude that hits triple 20, and you're off a Nats, it's into, 1 and 5 that are next to the 20. I've not been in a pub in a long time, right? The COVID. If you're a Nats off, it's 1. If you get it perfect, it's 60. So that's what I say to fans who say he drops off. Listen, no one's going to be perfect all the time, not even Sonny. But you can never question his character, his passion, or his belief, or his spirit, ever. Ever.
I totally agree on that. On Son, I mean, Jeff, I'll ask you on that. For me, I've seen Son as just that level, just below. I was going to say below Kane for the last season, but obviously that ship now was happening with Kane. I think that's now a different situation. But for me, the only point I've made with Son, I know Lee, we've had this debate many times, me and you, that for me, I just feel for Son to become that what I perceive to be that elite level, it is just the consistency in terms of goals. Because when you've looked at Son the last 3-4 seasons, he has what I call patches, goes for a great run, then it dries up, then it starts again. Is it just a case of Son, getting that consistency, or is he already at that level for you, Jeff? What do you reckon?
To your point, I noticed early on in the first couple of games where he wasn't getting his shots off in the same way that we come to expect of him in the last season or so. He was almost hesitant, and I wondered what that was all about, but he seems to have regained that slightly. My question really in relation to what you've asked me is just, did he go missing when Kane's been injured? And the answer to that is he has stood up in a way that we couldn't have even imagined, which shows the character. It also tells me that the thing stopping him from taking that step to the next level is actually his teammate Harry Kane, and not in a bad way, not in a purposeful way, just sometimes in order to be the top man, someone else maybe needs to not be there. And I think that always gave me I don't want Harry Kane not at the club, by the way. But it means that when Harry does go, I know exactly what Son's reaction would be and what sort of step up in performance I would expect to get from him.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, just to bring you on that point, Son, because I think he's now eclipsed Berbatov in terms of assists. I think over now he's got 41 just assists alone, Son, to his game. But as we've always said with Son, he's always been much more than just a goal scorer. It's the overall contribution that he brings to the football club. Like TJ said, they call him DJ there for a second. He has been like a DJ tonight.
TJ.
With the movement, I tell you. But generally, Lee, when you look at Son now, he is more than just a goal scorer. Like you say, he's now evolved into becoming this massive character for the football club, to a point where, like he said there, TJ, if you ask fans now generally, who would they be more concerned about losing? I think if you put it to a vote, and I might be wrong, Spurs fans voting. I might be wrong. I know you love a poll, but I generally think a lot of Spurs fans would say now they'd be more devastated to see Heung-min Son depart the club than Harry Kane. What do you make of that?
Well, I think a lot of that is to do, or would be to do, with what's just happened over the summer. If you took the summer out of the equation, and the way Harry was angling for a move, or his camp was angling for a move, or whatever, all of that stuff, if you took that out, I don't think that you would get the same response. That said, I understand the point you're making, and the point is clearly that Sonny is Mr. Tottenham Hotspur, in my opinion. I think he's absolutely outstanding in everything that he does. This guy is an absolute global superstar, and I already think he's elite level. When you come in, you're the joint third highest Premier League goal scorer last season, and in the top 5 of assists as well. And your teammate, by the way, is a top assister and a top goal scorer. I think you're already elite. And Jeff, again, you just nailed it on the head. when Kane was injured, during that Champions League run, when he'd done his ankles, who stepped up and scored the goal at 1-0 Man City at home? Sonny. Who scored 2 away to Man City? Sonny. He steps up and scores goals. Who scored the first goal in the brand new stadium against Crystal Palace? Sonny. Like this geezer is just, and to put his pen, is to sign on the dotted line again, commit his future for the next 4 years. I'm more baffled. What baffles me even more is that all the talks about Kane going to Man City, why ain't no one trying to sign Sonny? Which I'm very, very happy about, by the way. But no one's ever come in for him. I don't get it. He would get into every single side in the Premier League, in my opinion. Every top side he would get into, because he is absolutely world class. We are very, very fortunate and lucky to have him. And long may that continue, because... And Jeff, you're right. Now he's getting his shots off or whatever. Wow, he's going to explode. And I tell you what, I don't fancy being Newcastle defenders after an international break. Put it that way.
I don't think Newcastle defenders like being Newcastle defenders in general at the moment, Lee, to be honest with you. But I totally agree with that. I must say, we are going to go for our final break of the show. Taking into this break, we're going to hear from Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And like I say, we're going to close this show in the next 15 minutes, just talking about some of the other players today, and also just a quick run up on Nuno and what we see happening for the rest of the season. For our viewing audience on YouTube, there's still many of you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to try and wrap this up in 15. Appreciate this show. It can easily run over. So like I said, we're going to try and wrap it up in the next 15. Just generally, I think Sergio Reguilón, we talk about every player on this show generally after a game. So just to give him a quick mention, defending well down his side, played a fine ball down the left for Son to break away for Spurs' second goal. But the player I want to pick up on is another of our summer signings. And Jeff, I want to come to you and ask you about Emerson Royal, because for me, I thought it was a bit of a Royal performance. I think I took Lee's line there, but I honestly think, he played ever so well. I think, coming in where there was a lot of rumours about Emerson that, he couldn't wait for his Barcelona debut. At the presentation, and someone said to him, "I'm really sorry, we can't afford you. You've got to go." And not only has he got to go, he's got to come to Tottenham, where the trophies are currently on the hold. In terms of where we are in the position of the league, we know it's transitional. So please tell me, Jeff, what did you make of Emerson as a whole today? Are you excited by that performance?
What I learned from him is what he does offensively, certainly in Villa's final third today. I didn't realise that he almost turns into a winger, if you like, in that he's got great feet, in that he's got a great turn of pace, and that I expect that he'll be getting to the byline a lot and putting in some balls that, the likes of Harry Kane and Son will be able to lap up. So that was really reassuring, actually. Again, he looks like a great buy. I think the last 3 games, we've probably only seen him more of in a defensive capacity, actually. So we only really learned about his defensive qualities. And that was overshadowed by the amount of goals that we were obviously letting in. I couldn't really go into detail in terms of how many of them we feel he might have potentially contributed to. But who cares? Here we are. We learned that from an attacking point of view, he offers quite a lot.
I agree. A question on Emerson. This is from Stephen Hyde. We'll come to Lee for this one. Lee, he says here, Emerson has hardly been mentioned since he joined Spurs. He's trying to look like a really good player and could be the best purchase of the summer window. He goes that far. What do you think, Lee? Emerson, you saw him up close and personal. What do you make of his performance today?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I mentioned it earlier as well. I think I've seen a couple of weeks ago against Chelsea that he can defend. Last ditch defending that we touched upon with Dyer up against Wolves, and I think Emerson done that against Chelsea in certainly in that first half. I think going forward, I made a joke when we signed him. He's not going to be a defender, is he? He's a Brazilian, so he's always going to want to go forward, and ultimately, so you've got some good attacking play there. I think let's be honest about it. And we've banged on about it on this show so many times. Rose down the left, Walker down the right. We've never replaced that. The 2 flying fullbacks that we had were outstanding. The best right back and best left back, respectively, in Europe during that period of time. That last season at White Hart Lane, and the subsequent season after that as well, and probably one versus the Leicester title challenge, if you like. Ridiculous. They were fantastic, but both of them, and then Ben Davies coming in, and also Kieran Trippier. And I don't think we got as many crosses in since that quartet, if you like, has not been playing as fullbacks. Reguilón, for example. Then we've had a bit of Kyle Walker-Peters, who got 3 assists in one game. Then he couldn't get a game himself. Then we've had Serge Aurier, and he has got a decent cross on. I mean, I remember Serge Aurier putting that cross in against Borussia Dortmund when we battered them 3-0 in the last 16 of the Champions League. Absolutely outstanding from one fullback to another. It was Jan flying down the left side, wasn't it, for fullback, and he scored. So, we have had the ability to do it, but not that very much. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Emerson as an attacking threat in that way as well. I feel a little bit for Jaffet, actually, because there was a lot of people kind of saying that we're going to go and sign that Tomiyasu, who subsequently signed for Arsenal. And the reason why we're going to sign him is because he could play centre-back or he could play right-back, and he had both that in his locker. And we wanted somebody to fill that gap. And Jaffet played so well against Man City that everybody started saying, the club must have thought, actually, do we need this Tomiyasu guy? Should we keep hold of Jaffet because he can do both roles? And then obviously with the thing that's happened at Crystal Palace, and then how, look, let's be honest, I'm not digging Jaffet out. All of us were woeful against Arsenal, right? No one was over a 3. I think we were disgraced. Maybe Rodon, I don't know. But, but we were rubbish. But he wasn't very good again. So, and now Emerson's come in, and you can see this kind of marauding fullback that we've got. I think he's going to get quite a lot of game time. I like the fella. Look, let's see how he goes. I think one thing that I wanted to just pick up on whilst we're talking about Emerson, if I can, and crosses in the box, is Villa had 28 crosses today, and Tottenham had 50% of that, half of that. And I don't think that's enough crosses to be going in the box. You look at the likes of Harry Kane. I can't remember. You'll probably get battered now from the viewers. He scored one every day, but I don't know when was the last time Harry Kane scored with his head. I remember looping headers that he scored against Arsenal and some fantastic goals. But crosses coming into the box from the left, from the right, from wherever. I always think, and this is a little bit of a niggle to me, because we're not completely finished yet, are we? Clearly, but we seem to want to walk the ball in the back of the net at times. Sometimes we want to be a bit intricate, because we play with Lucas and Sonny. They're not pure wide players, are they? They come inside quite a lot, and it means that the fullbacks need to go past them and get crosses in, and hopefully Emerson can do that, because we definitely need that this season.
Yeah. When opposition know that you've got someone who can cross the ball and is going to cross the ball, that's what stretches a back four as well. So then you can, at your next attack, mix it up, and then you can go more intricate. But because we don't have it, the back fours or the threes, they get narrower, and it's probably made things harder for us to break teams down.
I think that is it. Yeah, TJ, just picking up on Harry Kane. Many will now look at the stats, and I know many will say, "Listen, discount the Europa Conference League for as the glory as that competition is." That's obviously sarcastic, by the way. I'm not trying to actually self-promote the Europa Conference League there, although Jeff did an absolute fine job in the week on the Europa Conference League. And listen, we go on to win that trophy, we'll all be absolutely delighted, because it is a trophy in the bank for Tottenham. But just in general, TJ, in terms of his Premier League form, yet to score a Premier League goal. Do you have any concerns over Harry Kane in terms of scoring in the Premier League? Because, like I say, 7 without a goal, although he's getting into some of the right areas, he isn't scoring. And we're now in October.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned about Harry Kane. Of course, I want him to score. I want him to score every game. And if you remember, my prediction today was that we would win 2-1. And I actually thought that Harry would score and that Lucas would score. So I was sort of, 66.6% right. And he should have scored today. But I'm also very much in agreement with Jeff that the Moura game was very important for us. And I was listening to another episode where Richard Cracknell, who was wonderful. I really like listening to him talk. I love his voice as well. And he's just really insightful. And he was talking about how important it is to win trophies and to win cups. And he said, there's nothing like walking up the stairs and lifting that trophy. And he's so right. I was there in 91 when we won the I was there with my friend, JB. It's winning trophies is very important. 2008, right? We won the League Cup. And so it's terribly important to come on and win those games. And also, I know people were saying they're 300 and whatever they are in the UEFA rankings. But the thing is that, look, nobody wants to come out and play football and lose. And certainly no one wants to come out and get humiliated. If you are a small team, I mean, they're the champions of Slovenia. And of course, no disrespect to them and no disrespect to the league that they play in. But of course, they want to come to Tottenham and take scalps. They want to put themselves in the shop window. And I have to say, I can't remember his name, but their right back, he was this blonde dude. He looked like Drago from Rocky IV, like flying forward, made incredible tackles. I thought he was really good. So, that's what they're looking to do. And it isn't the same as playing better opposition in training. It isn't. These guys want to take you. You know what I mean? And they don't mind if they hurt you, or they don't mind. They want to put their name in lights. And so for Harry to score 3 in 22 minutes was very important. Yes, of course, he should have scored today. And yes, of course, he should have scored twice against Arsenal. And so am I concerned about him? No, he will absolutely come good. He is an elite Premier League player, arguably the best number 9 in the world. I was doing quote signs for people who were listening to this rather than watching it on YouTube. Arguably the best number 9 in the world. So has he been affected? Of course he has. He's still a young man. He's only 28. Good Lord, when I was 28, I couldn't find my own arse with both hands. And so, I think he's doing what he can. And as soon as he scores 1, the floodgates will open, and that will be that.
I must ask, because I'm conscious of time, we are going to try and do a quick 5 on Nuno as well. Jeff, let's come around to you on Harry Kane quickly. Then I'm going to come around to Lee. Jeff, have you got any reservations about Kane now? 7 games in.
No, not at all. Not at all. Didn't he always have a bit of a September thing anyway? I don't know whether we've just revisited that. But do you know what I think that he'd be gutted with tonight? He'll be sitting there thinking about the dink. It weren't a dink catch. He pinged it as opposed to leaning. I think he'll be sitting there thinking like the keeper was miles out. And if he'd have just leant back a touch more, really easy for me to say, obviously just watching the game on my phone or whatever. But I think he'll know that was there for a player of his caliber will know that he could just have leant back a little bit more and found a net with that one. But look, I think that in terms of what happened in the summer, it would have took a period of time for him to just get his head together and acclimatise to the fact that he hasn't gone anywhere and that he still is where he's at. He was being professional anyway, but it would affect you. Even if it was just 5, 10, 15% of your game, it would. And I think that's just gradually coming back into it. Thank God he's got 6 elsewhere. And yes, I agree, TJ. It's a matter of time before he just regains his goal scoring touch.
I agree as well that he could have scored that. Remember that goal that he scored against that Szczesny twat in Juventus? I loved seeing him scramble to try to keep that one out against Juventus, which was much harder to score. I agree.
Audi Cup.
Yeah, that's what we said. We won the Audi
We
Cup.
won
so
that.
we
We won that, boys. And
it all counts.
Trophies.
Lee, for you on Harry Kane, it sounds to me even silly asking this question. The guy got a 22-minute hat-trick during the week. Do you still think Kane can still be the top scorer, Lee, in the Premier League?
100%. I mean, look, Mo Salah is absolutely on fire at the moment, so he's going to have to start catching him up rapido. But, I'm not worried at one iota. I've done a load of analysis. He's been at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, obviously, all his career. But for me, I didn't class the first season because he was out of all because Adebayor was still starting. So 7 seasons that he's been at the football club. He averages 2 goals in the first 6 Premier League matches. He averages 2 goals over 7 seasons. So obviously it's 7 games now. I haven't done the research tonight. You have to forgive me, obviously, because I've been at the match. But ultimately, he scored a hat-trick in midweek. He's already scored 6 goals, as Jeff said. I'm not worried at all. I think that, and actually, you're talking about 7 games. He didn't play the first 2. He weren't even in the bloody side because he was messing around with the Man City stuff. So it's actually only 5 games, really. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he comes, banging 2, and then they're banging 1, and then they're banging 2, and then they're banging 2, and all of a sudden they'd be on double feet, and you think, bloody hell, where'd that come from? That's just the man. That's just the man that he is. I think the way the team is setting up is going to help him as well. And like we just talked about, Emerson getting down the right-hand side, Reggie getting down the left-hand side, people pushing up 15, 20 yards out of the pitch, defending on the halfway line, attacking more, 8 shots on target today. That's going to help Harry Kane. He should have scored today. Probably could have hit 2 if we're honest about it. It'll come. No problem. No issue with Harry.
Can we give a very brief moment? I'm so sorry to jump on. A very brief moment of appreciation for Oliver Skipp. I mean, this guy's unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's back in the team today. One of our very own. We'll start with you, TJ, very quickly on Oliver Skipp. You've got obviously very high hopes for him, right? You still think, when you look at everybody fit, is he Spurs' one of the first names on the team sheet in terms
Yes.
of that midfield for you?
Yes, he is, and he's about 15 minutes old. I mean, this is extraordinary. And again, one of the things that I love following John on Twitter, Lily White Rose, is that he's so good with all the youth setup. I'm not very good with that, and he's just brilliant at it. And he really says, "Oh, the under 17s did that, and the under 18s, the under 19, under 23s." He's so good at following these prospects that are coming through. So even when we're talking about Paratici and transfer windows, and do we need to go back into the market, let's not forget our own that are coming through our ranks. And what I love about Skippy as well is that, again, it's that composure that we were talking about, Lee. Is he 21? Like, just unbelievable. And also,
20, I think he's only 20.
Something like that, mate. I remember when he first played for us before he went for Norwich, and he came on, and I think he had to go off at half time because he had his economics A-level like later that day or something. I know it was an economics A-level. I was like, oh my God, how old do I feel? But he's just wonderful.
He's 21, just turned 21.
Right. I mean, just incredible. So, and also what I really like about him is that he's technical but he's also combative. And if you look at him, he's a lump. He's a lump. Again, there's no excuse to be too lightweight and not to smash on a guy who's been smashed so much recently. But Harry Winks, there was that one time that somebody said, oh, maybe he's going to be Iniesta. Come on, Iniesta, are you kidding me? And if you're not going to be Iniesta, then go to the gym, my friend. Go to the gym. How many times you want us to talk about the best training facility in the world? I'm sure they have a weight or two. Go to the gym. Bulk up if you're not going to be that technical, because Oliver Skipp was smashing Traore, and Traore's built like a bull. I love this kid.
Yeah, no, I think we've got massive high hopes for Oliver Skipp. We have got massive high hopes for him. Just a quick mention, obviously, on Dombele, we touched on him briefly. He struggled to make an impact on that game. We're not going to get into it now, but we've got plenty of shows to come during the international break where I'm sure we'll analyse him as well. His best opportunity came on the hour mark when he beat a couple of defenders and sent a low shot that Martinez held. Lo Celso, he had two big opportunities when he came on. Neither of them finding the back of the net. And Nuno said after the game, on the four South Americans, that they will go in and they will isolate. But we are fortunate enough to have the lodge, and they will work normally with the team when they return. I'm sure we'll get into that more during the international break. But guys, in this final couple of minutes, I just want to discuss Nuno. So where Spurs are at the moment in terms of that Premier League table. Spurs currently sit in 8th place, played 7, 12 points, return. I think, Jeff, you said at the start of the show that's probably maybe on target when you look at the start of where Tottenham maybe were looking to be. I must add that we're only, this is the Spurs fan in me, we are only, as things stand, just the 3 points off the top spot, which you should never look to do. We're a couple of points off, joint second. Although I must keep adding to myself, it is a transitional season.
Yeah.
Nuno so far, I'll call it the half-term report. What have you made of it? Does he need more time? Are you excited by what's to come?
Yeah, we're covering old granny. I think that let's look at after 10 games. If he continues to steadily improve, if the attacking flow continues to develop, then I think that we can all sort of work with that. In terms of expectations for the year, I'd say 6th, the best we could probably hope for, and 8th would be the least that we should be looking for. I know we want better because we've experienced that in seasons gone by, but I don't really know what would need to change in order for us to feel like we're going to hit the top 5. So that's me. That's my expectations personally, and that's the beauty of football, is that everybody has the right to completely disagree with that and feel like they feel that we could. Do either of you feel like we could be any higher than that this year?
TJ, let's come to you first. What do you think?
Higher than 5th, no. I think I concur with, again, what's been said on this show in multiple episodes. That I think 5th would be a steal, and I think that would be wonderful for a first season. And also, we mustn't forget what a horrendously ugly baby Nuno inherited. I mean, a real minger. And so with all of these issues that we were having,
many of them.
Oh, mate, and so. I think he's really done quite well. And again, we have to ask more of the players. We have to ask more of them. It cannot always be Nuno. You guys, our players, like all other Premier League players, and it isn't their fault that they get paid what they get paid, but they get paid what they get paid to go and do what any one of us, as soon as someone says, LT, do you want to play football? I'm there. And even if I have to pay for it, I played 3 times last week. I paid once. So if you're getting paid millions of pounds to do one of the most wonderful things that we've ever invented, and I do believe that about football, I really do. It is the most egalitarian pursuit we have ever created. It is the great equalizer. No matter where you're from, what you look like, whether you're a man, woman, child, nothing doesn't matter. Everybody can play this game and loves this game. So ask more of the players. Let's give Nuno some time. He's now working with a different philosophy, a different squad, different set of expectations. I do feel hopeful and not enthusiastic, but I feel quietly confident that I think he could do a good job if the players step up. It has to begin and end with the players, in my opinion.
Yeah, John, and I think that's something we don't always talk more about. On these shows recently, the last couple of weeks, I know many have said, it can come across, a lot of it is on the emphasis of the manager. And you look at the squad that we have in the past, it's failed Pochettino.
Dude, Harry just said it, right?
Ryan
Sorry to interrupt you, Ricky. Harry just said it, right? Harry just said it. You have to. They abandoned Pochettino, they abandoned Jose, and now maybe they're going to throw Nuno under the bus. Come on, guys. Sorry to interrupt you, mate.
Listen, we can't sack 26 players. The reality is you cannot sack 26 players. Before I do come to Lee, just very quickly, Lucas Moura, I've got to give him a quick mention. He kept coming inside from the left in that first half, which was congested, to be fair, to the Wolves. The middle kept plugging away, was pivotal for Spurs' goal as well. So just to give Lucas a shout out there. Lee, to close it with you. It's been a bit of a crazy train this show, hasn't it? Crazy train. Been an absolute joy to have these guys on with us.
Crazy season.
On Nuno then, where are we, Lee, for you? Because I know you've been quite passionate recently. Is he still the right man for you?
Look, not really, if I'm honest. I mean, look, we've scored, we've got 3 points today, happy days. 14-15 season, in Poch's first season, 7 games in, he's got 11 points, right? And we've got 12. 15-16 season, 12 points. 16-17 season, 17 points. 17-18 season, 14 points. 18-19 season, 15 points. You're keeping up. 19-20 season, 11 points. And last year, 2021 season, 14 points. So, like Jeff said, I think you're spot on. I think we're pretty much there or thereabouts. The thing about the wider aspect of this and whether or not it's Nuno just on his head, and I agree with that's what you're saying, it's not just on Nuno's head, but we haven't got a way of playing. He's still maybe he's still finding that. I will back the manager. I'm not calling for his head. What I'm saying is I don't want to be sitting there next week or sorry, when the international break's finished, wondering why we've only got a 1-1 draw away at Newcastle because we've sat back after winning after going 1-0 up. Unfortunately, today that didn't happen. If you can see that he goes to Newcastle and sets the team up and does what we did today against Newcastle, and then is brave against Manchester United and brave against West Ham United, then fine, But I can't. After what I've seen in the first 6 games, this was probably the best we've played. Maybe the City game as well. But that doesn't mean to say that all of the work is done. There's a huge amount of work still to do. And for me, the jury's still out. Whether or not it's 7 games, 10 games or whatever, the way he set up the football team and the way that we've been playing under him so far doesn't fulfill me that he is a proactive front foot coach. He's not. I don't think he's coached the players. I personally don't look at this and see this about the coaching aspect. I think he looked clueless against Arsenal. He didn't know what to do. He's not tactically set up to change things, to make things happen. And I don't think he's getting the best out of the players and the systems so far that he's played. What I would say to counteract that a little bit is Kane hasn't had a pre-season. Somebody's got these boys for the South American boys. They haven't had a proper pre-season. They've gone in and out and the COVID situation and all that jazz. So it's not been smooth sailing for him. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I'm not going to, just because we've got 3 points today, I'm not going to go back on what I said last week or the week before. The football's been fucking turgid, excuse my language, and it needs to improve. And it improved today, so we're happy. But it needs to continue to improve. And my prediction will be that we will be going like this again this season. And that's how it's going to go. We'll rock up at Newcastle and scrape a draw. We'll lose to Man United, and then we might go and turn over West Ham after getting battered and beaten 1-0. And that's not going to, and that's where everyone's going to be like, oh, he's good. Oh, he's not so good. And that's why, for me, the club need a plan. And at the moment, I don't see the club having a bigger vision than just win a football match. And that's the problem for me. Not necessarily Nuno, but that's the problem for me.
Well, I think, like we've said, the last couple of weeks show, if we know what the plan is, where we're going, where we're heading, what the direction is, what the philosophy, then as Spurs fans, we've been patient for 20 plus years waiting for trophies. We can be patient if we know what that plan is, what it looks like. And I'm pleased to say we have got the.
We can be patient, can't we, Rick? If we know where we're going, we can be patient. We've got no choice.
Yeah. Well, I was
going to say, what I would say. The last 5 minutes of that football match today was really well managed. The last 5 minutes of that football match, I thought they were very well managed. Sometimes Spurs we mess it up. We give the opposition. There was no crosses coming into the box in the last 5 minutes from Villa, and we wasn't under pressure at all. We were keeping it in the corner, and it was very well managed in that way. So look, long may that continue. I don't think we're asking for Pep Guardiola. I just think we're asking for us to give heart, desire, some passion, and a way of playing that we can get on the front foot and score goals. That's what, and we lose games doing that, Rick. Of course we will, but we'll win more than we lose.
Totally agree. Let me say a massive thank you to our great panel for tonight. The first up, Jeff, thank you so much for making your debut. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're hoping you'll be back on during the season. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, our pleasure. TJ, thanks for everything. Generally everything. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. I know, like I say, the animations, our listeners have been absolutely loving having you and Jeff on. So thank you for making your debuts. It's been 10 out of 10.
Complete pleasure. I've loved every moment of it. Thank you so much. And it was yeah, I mean, we want to talk about our team and we want to show some emotion, and it's so terribly important to us. And again, I think that as fans, we do well to prop each other up, and we do well to commiserate one another as well. And so I'm not saying for a second that maybe players or training staff or anything would potentially see or hear this program, but it's important for them to be reminded that you're playing for a multitude of people who take this terribly, terribly seriously. So we should ask the maximum of our players and of the coaching staff. But thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. And Crackers there, like I say, that is the man. I'm sure it is the man, the legend, the Crackers himself, enjoying it as well. Thanks, Rich, for handing me this baby back. I'm really enjoying it, absolutely loving it. At least we're going to an international break on a positive. And to finish with our crazy training instructor, Lee McQueen. Lee, it's going to be one of those seasons, my friend, isn't it? What are we in for, eh?
It's always crazy being Spurs. And look, we've got to enjoy it. It's 3 points today. Played well. Long may that continue. I'd just like to say thank you to Jeff and to TJ as well, because I've thoroughly enjoyed being on here. I'm going to go and rest my throat now because, as somebody said, I don't ever shut up, which is fair enough because I don't. But also, I need to go and rest my voice box for tomorrow. So thanks for having me back on. It's always a pleasure. And as always, as hopefully, by the way, just this is how crazy my brain is, right? Talk about crazy train. I saw this week 5 pairs of magpies, right? So I knew that we were going to win today. I'm telling you, this is how it works. Lucky pants, lucky socks. No. Magpies. If you see them singly, it's a shocker. If you see 2, happy days. And we won the football match. Come on, you Magpies, I think. I
love it. Fantastic. Guys, most importantly, thank you so much for joining us live on this show. Wherever you're listening from around the world, thank you so much. But most importantly, keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.